to keep on our site there. So if anybody wants to go back to this and take a look at it. So here's a little bit about what I was wanted to kind of get the point across here. In most cases, guys, when we've seen students do personal branding for their website, for their logo, for their LinkedIn, for Instagram, whatever, what I want to define this as is this is the logo and the branding that you're going to create for you and yourself, and not so much you as a company, you as a person on Instagram trying to get some freelance things. This is for you to have on your resume, to have on your website, your name, not a studio name. Okay, so that's kind of like the idea we're thinking of. You can do as many of those fun ones as you want and have a really cool studio name. A lot of students already have that. But for this, it's really to give you the tools once you graduate to find something that you could do and really put your best foot forward out there. I'm sure, Shelly, you can kind of agree. You've seen a lot of student logos, and you can tell when it's a student logo. In most cases, it's a very clever way of putting two initials together, and then you're like, boom, right? Like there's your branding. That's not what we need to do. And what's funny is in showing these off to people over the years at portfolio review and other places, many of the professionals have said, wow, I can spot a student logo or a student branding from a mile away because it just shouts, student. The goal here is to present something just like you would do any job or any logo brand and create a brand for yourself. So this has to have your personality. This has to have something about you that distinguishes you from everybody else out there. That's kind of the most important thing. So it's more about creating an emblem or a logo or something that is all about you, okay? So how do you define your personal goals? This is a great little capture of everything you should be asking yourself. And again, I'll put this PDF on Basecamp so you guys can go in there. You don't have to worry about taking notes or anything. But all the questions you would ask a typical client, right? What about them is so special? What makes them different from the competition? All of those things. You can use all these questions to start asking about yourself. What are you most knowledgeable or passionate about? Does anybody want to give that a shot? What are you most knowledgeable about in the field of graphic design? Does anybody want to try?
Just designing in general.
Yeah, I mean, what's the key thing that you feel you have that's a strength?
I mean, I love to brand, but I feel like I could get a little bit better with the programs.
Okay. Anybody else have something they feel that they are most knowledgeable with in the field of creativity and design?
Being able to illustrate as
Good.
well as graphic design.
Yes. So having that dual kind of talent there is key. That's great too. Josh, did you have something?
Yeah, I think mine is creative strategy, really.
So you really get into the nitty gritty, the strategy. Same idea you should be doing for yourself, right? Like we do it for our clients. We do it for the jobs we work at, right? So what do you want to achieve with your brand, right? What do you want to say with it? If someone were to look at it, what do you want them to think, right? Trustworthy, knowledgeable, innovative, flexible, all these keywords. These are things that we're going to try to get you guys to start thinking about as to what are the big things that you can kind of pull out and kind of use yourself, okay? So I'm going to show you a few examples. Some of my favorite artists that I think do have this in a way because it speaks to who they are. John Contino, great hand letterer, incredible artist. He's more of an artist illustrator that has become a brand developer. His book called Brand by Hand is really amazing if you're looking for a great book to add to your collection. He has a few logos, but you can go to continostudio.com and take a look and see some of the other stuff there. But he's influenced by all these cool things of his past. He's a true New Yorker. He loves baseball. He loves old, gritty, vintage, retro style stuff. So that becomes part of his logo and his brand that he's created for himself, and he lives it. You can look at the guy or the girl and look of all these examples I'm going to show you. They're living and kind of breathing this idea. The next one is a buddy of mine called Brad Woodard, and he owns Brave the Woods Studios. And again, now this is a studio name, but I'm using it as an example. His logo is this little patch. It feels like it's almost like he's like the mayor of the forest. Like he is an outdoorsman. Everything he draws has to do with nature, animals, canyons, all these great things. So for him, for this little logo, he created a badge that's almost just doesn't even exist out there, but it's this beautiful little tree within like a sheriff's or a like a Forest Ranger's badge. That's who he is, and he lives and breathes that kind of vibe, okay? Now, many of you might know Lauren Hom. She's an incredible hand letterist and muralist. She actually doesn't even have a logo, believe it or not. What speaks for her is her work, her personality, the way she does these great interviews, and her online presence and her social media. She's unreal. And I wanted to show you this because as much as her brand exists in her visuals, she really doesn't even have a logo. She has Home Sweet Home, Hom Sweet Home, because her last name is Hom, not Home. She has a great website called Hom Sweet Home. And there, you can see her branding, you can see what she does, but she doesn't even have a logo. So again, your logo might just be everything else you're going to do, and your name just written in a beautiful way. Kendrick Kidd, maybe a few of you guys follow this guy. He has this real sharp, bold, vector-looking kind of vibe here. He can do anything. That's like his trademark. And his K logo is basically representing that. It's this Swiss Army knife. It's all the tools of the trade. He could do anything. You would go to him for anything. That's like that, kind of like when you think about a Swiss Army knife. So he made this K, designed in his illustration style, but it kind of represents more than just his aesthetic. It's more about who he is as an artist. Jen and Amy Hood, they've done a great job as well. Their beautiful hand lettering chutzpah design is their agency name, but you can see it reflects in all of their work too, and their personality. And they take great photos and pictures of them and their agency and as their work. So their brand across social media, on LinkedIn, on Instagram, in their website is so consistent because it's really who they want. And it really describes them on them being brand identifiers and hand letterers. So some of the questions you should ask yourself is, how do you want to be perceived by a potential person that's going to be looking for you in your resume, applying for a job? Just some examples. You can be honest, dependable, creative, easygoing, collective, driven, trustworthy. These are benefit words, right? Do you guys get the point here? They're not just descriptors. They're benefits in what you can bring as a designer, as a contributor, as part of their team. Pablo or Mario, do you remember any of the words you guys used when you were putting together this questionnaire that you might want to share?
I can go first.
Go for it.
I think I put as being creative, trustworthy, easygoing, and as an active person.
Yes. Pablo, what'd you have? Do you remember?
Yeah, I actually put I don't remember some of the words I put. They were like, so for instance, I put like optimistic, communicative, organized, professional,
Great. Perfect.
trustworthy.
And have you found these words to be helpful in building where you guys are at right now and building your logo?
Definitely. I feel like it establishes like a strong foundation for like the creative and like the visuals that
Good.
you want to design.
Yeah. And how about the idea of, does it give you more confidence that if someone was to ask you, what does your logo represent, you would have an answer?
For sure.
Good. So that's the whole point, guys, is pretty logos are great, but if they don't mean anything and someone asks you in an interview, oh, I love this logo. Where did it come from? Where did this stem from? You having that answer is going to be just as impressive. Okay. So another thing you can think about is, what is the tone of your voice? If your brand could talk, how would it communicate to people? So you could say authoritative, caring, cheerful, conservative, conversational, right? That's a good one. It's kind of like, means it's give and take. It's not so much like an authoritative. Maybe you don't want to come off that strong right now. Is it casual? Is it edgy? Is it enthusiastic? So think of these key words that would really represent you. Here are two great examples. If you were to go the casual route and you want to come off like Mario said, easygoing, right? Adaptable, like more of a generalist than a specialist. Here's two ways you can think of these. Both of these designed, one's a studio, one's an individual. They give you that casual, easygoing feel in ways that they've created the design. What do you see here? If anyone can throw out an answer here, particularly on the Martina one, the one in the teal. What about this says easygoing, relaxed, casual? What do you see?
the choice of colors
Sure.
and how
I think-
fluid the text is.
Yep. What else?
It's simplistic.
Yep. Very simplistic. It is easygoing, right? You can look
That
at
it's also breaks away from the circle within.
Yes, totally. Right. So look at the edges, look at the roughness. What does that tell you about this artist?
That they're hands-on, I guess I would
Mhm.
say.
Wonderful. That's exactly it, right? Like, if I see this as opposed to something so structured and so kind of clean, I'm going to think Martinez got a little more flexibility. Okay to do some hand. Like, this tells me you wouldn't do that, Martina, unless you did that by hand. Like, there's no font that can do that authentic kind of vibe, right? You know, she drew that. This is hers. So to me, that has a personal stamp on it that I really, really love. Even just that swirl around it, it feels natural, it feels organic, it's not handmade. And I think that's something to balance. If decide who you really want to be. Are you coming off strong as a digital artist? Do you have these illustrative skills? How do you marry these two to kind of come across really focused and so people will understand who you are? Now, if you want to go sophisticated, that's your vibe. You can see that these three have some really great sophisticated versions here that are really nice and cool, right? There's something more elegant, more prestigious about them. Now, be careful about that. I'm only showing you these because I think it's a great example. But if this is really the world you want to go in, excellent. But if you haven't figured out particularly what that dream job is right now, I would tend to go a little bit more on the flexible side with your thing, a little more kind of like general with this, with a taste of the personality that you really want. This is more, I'd say, in line with companies that have been around for a long time, have established themselves in this world, and sophisticated is the way they can actually go there, okay? So the other thing I want you to think about, the third question here is, what is your archetype? Does anyone have any idea what an archetype is or a brand archetype is that hasn't been in one of my classes? It's right there in front of you, but I'm glad to hear that maybe you guys haven't heard this term yet. What's so interesting about this is this concept is, if you were to describe a brand, you, your client, the place you work at, if you were to describe that brand as a person, what kind of a person would they be? So it's a way of presenting them in the same symbolism, the same values, the same behaviors, and the same voice as you would a persona that we're very familiar with. And you'll see in the next slide that there's a ton of these to choose from. But what I want you to think about is, which one of these brands or these archetypes would you be? And this is a great example of showing you that you have everything from the creator, the explorer, the innocent, the outlaw. The outlaw is like rebellious a little bit. The magician's that person that can like do a lot with a little. They can pull a rabbit out of their hat, that kind of stuff, right? You got a hero, the ruler, the everyday man or woman, the caregiver, the jester, the lover. These are all ways to consider who your brand is. So for mine, when I put mine together, my biggest one was I wanted to be more of a pioneer. And a pioneer is this combination of like outlaw, but also maybe everyday man and the explorer. What that means is, like, I want to make sure when a client looks at what I'm doing, there's something very pioneering and very new and fresh, but it's rooted in tradition and it's rooted in things that we all know and love. So it's a great way to kind of think about it. You could take two of these, kind of blend it, but I always suggest that one of them become the most important one. Pablo or Mario, what were the ones you guys chose? Do you remember?
I was creator.
Yeah.
Well, I am creator.
And Pablo, same, or were you something?
Yeah, mine was actually the same creator.
Okay, so who here wants to say they're more of an outlaw or a rebel when it comes to, and this isn't like you're unlawful. This just means you go against the grain. You want to try things new, right? That kind of stuff. Sam, you think that's you?
Yeah.
Prove it. How do you do that in your work? Give me an example.
Well, I feel like I used to be more of an outlaw, and then I kind of slowly became more like following the rules, but
Okay.
I like to do things with like bright colors and more like more bold and kind of fun.
Yeah, yeah. I think we all should, right? We all can't play it 100% safe. And I think there's got to be a little bit of an outlaw or that rebel in all of us in some way. And that could be an addition to maybe one of these other ones. But I'm curious, now that you guys know what these are, anyone here that has not identified themselves into a brand archetype yet, they want to take a stab at kind of telling us who they might think they are as a designer, as a creative, as just even a person anyone would want to hire. Does anybody want to take a stab?
Sure, I'll do it.
Go for it.
I was thinking magician, mainly because with not just graphic design, like more so I do designs outside, like costume design and studio work. I would say I'm pretty resourceful, and I tend to get stuff for cheap instead of going and buying like very expensive materials. I try to make something out of nothing pretty much, and it ends up being pretty beautiful.
Too. That could be a hero
Yeah.
too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I totally agree. Anybody else want to give it a shot? Does something here kind of speak to you in a way that you're like, ooh, I never thought of it that way, but that's maybe where I'm at.
I don't know if it's just me, but I can't really read well what it says on a lot of these. It's very like.
I know it's a terrible image. It was the only one I could find of it, and it's not that I do. There are great books that you guys can pull. There's the best book out there is called The Archetypes of Branding. It's on Amazon as well if you guys want to take a look at it. But you can do a quick Google search on brand archetypes and you can find them. So if you can't read this real quickly right now, guys, do a quick Google search, branding archetypes, and you'll get a great little synopsis of each one. But which one were you thinking, Saul, as just the title?
Probably from just the title, the everyman, is that what?
Yeah, everyman. So that's like that's the one who. It's kind of like it's look at IKEA as the perfect kind of example. These are all great brands that are in that zone already. And IKEA is they're great for everyone, right? They're not exceptional for a small group. What they are is they're great for everybody. So if you think of it that way, that's more of a generalist, which is maybe a better spot to be in where you guys are right now, unless you have that one thing that's really defining you. But the everyman or every woman is a great one because in a lot of ways, it means you are flexible and open. So if a weird kind of like opportunity comes your way, that's such a tangent, you might have more of a chance to be flexible for that than someone who is saying like, I'm the outlaw, right? Like that's me 100%. But if you're the everyday person, there's a little more flexibility in the opportunity that might come your way, okay? So there's nothing wrong with that too. I would say a generalist is a great thing to be right out of school. The specialist comes years later. I was talking to a few alumni a couple of days ago, and they were saying how they have found their niche. They found the thing that they really want to be the specialist in now, but they couldn't do that 4 years ago because no one took them that seriously right out of school. So try to make sure you're keeping that in mind as well. But these are really great. And taking a look at those archetypes. I ask every client this when they have a brand and they have a product that we're going to develop a brand for. I ask them, these are the choices. Who are you? And if you don't know, like, we'll help you figure that out. But you got to understand, like, this is like the keystone to where you're going to propel, what you're going to design, what you're going to say, the fonts you're going to choose. All of these things really respond and reflect on this idea of the archetype, okay? So the last question here, what are your strengths? What are the things that you truly can say you do better than most folks? And that could be your determination, your patience. I wish I had that. I don't have that. So it's not part of my list, but innovation, versatility. The other thing too, and I think you guys, a few of you in my graphics 3 class have realized this, there's a certain sense of salesmanship that we have to be as well as creatives, right? We have to sell these ideas. We have to pitch them. So you as a salesman, you as a person that can say, this is why it's important. This is why you should listen. This is why you should buy. Those persuasion methods. that has become a very big strength for me. And when we put our stuff together, I don't even think we're the best design team out there. I think we're the best persuasive and sales driven design team. Not so much great design out there all over the world, but can you sell it? That's really where it kind of starts. So find that thing that is your strength, the thing that you can really do. If you don't know it, ask friends and family, ask people, that you can do that you would trust them. Can anyone give you that advice? Ask someone you've worked with before, even if it was at just a part-time job. That's where your essence really comes from. That's where someone might be like, man, you were the most reliable person I've ever worked with, right? That's a great attribute to remember and keep in mind as you're designing your brand, okay? So thought that was the last question, but I think I have a few more. Number 5, do you have a distinct style? Now, this is something I would only do unless you have a style that is so incredible and 2 or 3 professors have told you, run with that. If you don't worry about it, because I don't have one and I never will. I don't think this is something that's is a attribute I don't even want. I'd rather be very flexible and able to do any kind of branding rather than just one. That some of those people I showed you earlier, some of those designers, they have distinct styles that they've worked on for 10, 15 years, and now it works. So here's the thing where if you do have something unique, one thing I would tell you is many of you have that combination of both illustration and design and graphic design as a beautiful little combination. Let that shine in your personal brand. Let that shine in the things that you're going to do, because that's a 2-for-1. If I'm hiring a UI UX person, but you come in with this insane illustration capability, I'm going to be like, damn, I've got 2 designers in one, right? So there's a lot of ways to use those things to your advantage, okay? So unless you have one, great. If no one's ever told you that, disregard this slide and you could be just like me, okay? So last question. What if a logo doesn't work? You don't have to have the actual logo that is 100% yours, like the Target logo, like the Nike logo, like the Apple logo, meaning no words, just the logo and the icon itself. A word mark is just as fine as long as it carries all the same things that we've talked about. So a signature logo could be another option where it's something unique about your hand lettering, or something original and a unique way of putting your logo together, your name together, that represents all of these cool things, okay? So I don't want you to think the default is that you have to have this logo that is a mark, that is a emblem. It can just be your name. In fact, a lot of designers will appreciate that in a young designer who has just recently graduated from school, because it shows you're not trying so hard. It also shows your work is so confident that you can have a beautiful typeset logo of your name and be just fine with that, okay? So a lot of good flexibility. Again, there's no rules when it comes to this stuff. But here's some rules. Perfect segue. All right. What you can do is you want to develop that tailored font and color palette. The whole goal is to create a small little style guide for your logo, your colors, the type you use. And once you have it done, you've got it done and you can use it over and over and over again. Don't fear that this is going to be boring if it all looks the same. It's a consistency. Let's say you found a job opportunity on LinkedIn and you applied for it. That person found you and goes, let's look them up on Instagram. Let's look them up on Twitter. Let's look them up on Behance or whatever. Having that consistency makes that person go, whoa, this person's got their act together. They are the same person and all these things. If you have some weird departure on one of those things and a person goes there, they might not get it. They'd be like, whoa, I don't think I have the right person here. There's something totally different here, okay? So you want to maintain that specific tone. Look at the letterhead, the stationery, the business card, right? I know a lot of this is kind of obsolete and maybe we're not doing so much of these anymore, but the design theme stays consistent and it has that tone throughout. So how you're using the font, how you're using the colors, those things should work. Do all of you feel like you would make a business card at this point, like actually go and print one? Or do you feel that's kind of obsolete? I'm curious.
I was actually thinking about that last time, 2 days ago, because My friend has like his own brewery, and
Yeah.
I show him my work on my Instagram. But like, dude, probably my graphic designer sucks. I could probably hire you at least do 2 posts per month, and like, crap. But I'm like, wait, should I do business clothes and then just
Yeah.
cards at least to spread, like, share, or just share my Instagram or something,
Mhm.
But yeah, that's
can't
what I was
hurt.
thinking.
Right? It can't hurt, Shali, do you have a business card?
I do not. And
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you've probably gone through this too, but I feel like once you're out there and you've created, a rapport with the people around you who surround you in the industry, it comes down to recommendations after that.
Mhm. You're right.
Yeah, so it's kind of the way that it's been for me. It's recommendation by recommendation.
Yeah, and I know for like you and I, if you had come across someone, chances are I use LinkedIn as my first thing. Like,
Mhm.
and LinkedIn has the barcode that they can actually scan, and now we're connected. But for you, Mario, if you met this person, what if that person doesn't have LinkedIn, right? So was it a missed opportunity because you didn't have your business card? So I always say it's worth doing. I think it's if you haven't ever had one and you get to design it yourself, it's quite an exciting thing to have, and just keep them in your car, keep them in your backpack. I still have a good amount of them left, and I will take them if I'm traveling. It's just one extra thing I always kind of keep in mind. But there's also I can't remember the name of it, but it's that thing where you pay for it once. I think is it called Dot or something like that, where it's all you have to do is kind of you have a little one card. It looks like a credit card, and you can put that to someone's phone, and they will instantly get all of your contact information through RFD. So it will show up on a website, and they can bookmark and save all of your contact information. So that's a unique thing you can do as well, where you don't have to print cards. You just have to keep this one card with you all the time. Or like Linktree is a great one too. If you have a Instagram account and you use like Linktree, you can put all the links in there. Your Behance, your portfolio, your Twitter account, your email, and that's a neat way to do it too. It's just one shot and everything's there. Okay. Yeah, you can do your own QR code as well. That's a cool way to do it as well. I've seen some people do that. I saw someone put a QR code on a hat, and I just thought that was the most, and then they put it on a mask, and I thought that was the funniest thing. If I ever saw someone holding up a camera to someone's mask, I was gonna be like, now this year has just gone way too far.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so there's ways around it, right? But like, I love the idea for you guys. If you want to do a card, let me know, because I have some great printer connections. They will do 1,000 double-sided full color for like $75. So it's not that bad. There's a lot of great online ones. Moo, if you guys haven't looked at moo.com, they print incredible stuff. And you can do it I think the quantities you can do it as low as maybe 50, which is great because they do everything digitally. They print everything digitally. So their prices are pretty amazing if you want to do something like that for a business card. Okay. So where was I?
And if you sign up for Moo, they give you like a little packet with samples. So that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, and they give you like the neat thing too is they have cases that are really nice as well. It was like 20 extra bucks, and it's like this beautiful little plastic case that holds all your cards. So, especially for DesignerCon, if you don't have something ready to meet someone there, like even if you just have get your LinkedIn ready to go, that's a great thing. So you guys can kind of make some connections there as well. So when I was putting like my personal brand together, the things I chose, when I put my words together, my keywords were supportive, on target. That kind of means just focused, like kind of like aiming for that sweet spot with every client, like helping them out, making sure I'm doing the best I can do for them. I wanted to also show that I'm agile and like a little bit flexible, but also super efficient, meaning like there's no wasted time. The vibe, I wanted it to be professional, mature, trustworthy. And the voice I chose was authoritative, expert, but passionate. I had a boss back in the day that taught me the difference between being precious and being passionate. Precious means like you would hold on to an idea till everyone agrees that's the way to go. And that's no way to work. What you want to be is a passionate person, meaning I have an idea, but I'm flexible to the group. I'm flexible to the group that I'm working with, right? You're not that person that's like my way or the highway. So I love this idea of being passionate. And then when I asked around for some testimonial and I was working with a lot of the clients at the beginning, my first client ever said to me one time, they're like, we don't refer you to anyone. We're very sorry, but they're like, we don't refer you because we consider you our secret weapon. If some other brand had you, we would lose that edge. And I just thought that was the best compliment I could ever get. So I always remembered that as something cool. And you could do the same thing by asking people you've worked with about that. So when I kind of was putting my logo together, this logo kind of comes, I want to show you where these words now elevate and come into your logo design. So I looked up when I looked up supportive icon, I found wings, I found things like this. When I looked at on target, I found obviously something that kind of shows the target. Agile was this idea of this like direction, and one goes one way, one goes the other way. Efficiency, there's like this around the clock kind of vibe. And the secret weapon was just this italic thrust. I thought it felt like something about like energy. It felt really cool. I didn't think this was like really going to kind of come through on the logo, but it was worth kind of showing you where this idea came from. And then part of my influence and the things that I love the most is the authentic and the incredible like design of car emblems from like the 30s and the 40s. I love this idea, and they represented everything I thought I was trying to be. And so my logo basically came across from all this research, all these keywords, but you can see it's still very vague. It's not heavily detailed. You still got to consider all the principles of design here, right? Scalability, flexibility, one color, all those things. And so when someone does ask me, oh, great looking logo, what does that mean? I can back it up in a heartbeat, right? I can tell them all about it and what that means, okay? So the summary here, treat yourself as the client. Same as you would go and build a brief for the client, build a brief for yourself. Study the brands that you admire and why. That's a great way to look at those people, all these other designers out there that are doing it. Start with words, not images. The minute you go and just start trying to design a logo, it doesn't mean anything. You got to have the words first, okay? And then find that unique offering. What is it about you that makes you different, makes you exceptional, and makes you stand out in a crowd? I just got an email from a student that graduated last year, and he was on fire. He was getting interview after interview for like a month. Didn't land the job just yet. Now he just emailed me. He goes, I'm not getting any response. He's like, I'm falling apart. What do I do? And I told him, like, maybe you got to change that perception a little bit. Because think about it. If you were out there hiring creatives, doesn't it make sense that if someone stands up, puts their hand out, or that resume shines, or that portfolio shines a little brighter than the other folks, is that the person you're going to call first, right? It's kind of the way it works. So you guys have to start thinking about what you're going to do to be that standout person. You could prove it to them later, but you got to stand out first. You got to get their attention. It's like raising your hand in a big auditorium if someone says, who has the next question? You want to be as loud and big as you can to make sure people are getting you, okay? So you could take all the answers from that questionnaire all those questions, the things that we got that I showed you in this presentation, come up with like a creative brief, build a simple creative brief that is you and everything about you. And that's the first step. Then you can have fun and start building some cool stuff for your things. I'll give you guys this if you want to. This is a Dropbox file that I have that is a creative brief, and it asks all the questions that we just talked about. Your core values, your personality, your archetype, all that great stuff, okay? And then you could start sketching, put some stuff together, but I want you to sketch based on those words. Like you can't do the sketching until you've done the background information, the background history, and all the research on you as a designer, okay? So I hope that makes sense. It's a lot, and I'll give you guys this PDF so you have it. That comes with that one Dropbox link that you can download that creative brief. That might help you. But I want to ask again, Mario and Pablo, is there anything you would emphasize or want to add to this as you guys have both been building your your logo and your brand, your self branding right now that you would love to share?
Actually, Pablo's not here, but
Oh, go for it, man.
he left. It's because there's a little bit time, so it's hard to do a logo like a lot of sketching. So I know for sure I might change it up later on. So, but yeah, it's actually good to look at the what you call it, the keywords, I guess. Like you know how you say like positive, creative, like yours, like your logo example, and then get those and then just put it together to make a logo. But just that I might for sure gonna change it later on.
Yeah.
Logo.
Oh, and I know it's ever changing. But the idea too is to try to at least design something, guys, that's going to last you maybe 4 to 5 years right now as you go through this weird transition of going out of school and into the real world. It can always change later, but it would still be based on the same, you know, base study and everything that you've done in your research. You know what I mean? Any questions or any hurdles? Has anybody tried this before and they just haven't been able to, you know, match what they wanted to do in their self-branding?
Yeah, I kind of tried this a while back. But I think what really stuck out to me what you said was start with words, not images. Like I've been trying to kind of fight against this habit where like I immediately jump into Illustrator, I start making stuff without really having a purpose behind it. So like, but now like I've been realizing like no, like there has to be a meaning for everything. You can't just, it can look nice, but what does it mean? So I definitely understand that now.
Because we do that for the projects that we work in. We do that with clients, but I think a lot of times we're so competitive against other designers too. And I think too, there's a good friendly competition and competitiveness against you that you guys, I think, have as students, which is cool. So you might see someone do something and go, whoa, I don't have a logo that good. Like I gotta, and so the first thing is to go to Illustrator and start messing around with stuff. But it doesn't mean anything, right? Like it's gotta mean something first. And so giving you guys this kind of this idea of what it should stand for is really a unique, it's not a unique way to do it. It's the real way we should do it. But for some reason, a lot of us just don't do it as designers. You know what I mean?
No, yeah, I think it's definitely like something I still kind of struggle with where like it's like, oh no, like have a meaning behind everything.
Yeah.
Just immediately jump in, even like if you said you're always in a competition.
Yep.
Just want to make it look good.
Yep.
But I get it now. That's cool.
Yeah, and even try to stay clear of the initial thing. Sometimes it works. Like Mario found a cool way where he's out with his logo is it's a really cool lowercase script that just goes M-E, but it's actually says me. It's connected. It's like this neat thing. And he found it to be this neat way of going like, that's me. That's my signature. That's like, that I own. And there was something really cool and everyone loved the way it kind of came through because it's not just initials. It actually means, and it's very easygoing. It's very, all the things he promised. So try to make sure you're the design police on this. When you make that brief, you know, tape that to your wall. So anytime you're working on the art for your personal brand, you know, look back at that and be like, am I being true to all the things that I wanted this to be? Okay. Any other questions or concerns or like still unclear about anything? Go for it, Sam.
Yeah, for me, like, I did try to come up with some logos for myself and brand myself earlier this year, and I was just honestly following kind of like whatever I saw like other students were doing, which were like the initials, but
Yes.
it didn't feel like personal enough. And then yeah, I was just like designing without really like putting in that thought and that research first.
Yes.
So I want to give that a try now, like coming up with like figuring out the meaning before I try and execute it. And then but what I struggle with, I guess, is just the whole concept of branding myself because I feel like I'm someone who's constantly growing and learning and like adapting. Like it's hard to like it's being stagnant, right? Like I don't want to come up with
nailed it. If that's who you are, make your logo that. Your logo's always adaptive. Your logo's open to influence. Your logo is what else? Like that's exactly what to pull from.
Yeah.
because you said that in a way where that was the wanton desire of what you want to be perceived as, and yet you filled in your creative brief by just saying that. You know, that was great. That turn that into your logo. You see what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking too. I just need to figure out what that
Hmm.
would look like.
So now we're gonna hold you to that.
We'll see what I come up with.
Good, good. Is anybody else? Are you guys anxious to try this? Is this something you guys are gonna like give it a shot on for sure? Good. Cool, cool, cool. So yeah, like tomorrow morning, my seminar class is going to be like they're going to be presenting all of their kind of like where they are with their final kind of version of their self brand. So what we can do too is, you know, later in the weeks, we can do a few check-ins with everybody here in Saga and see like how everybody's doing, and if anybody wants to present and show off the work. So we could do sketches first, you know, like in a week or two, you just at the end of our kind of meeting. But then as well, I'd love for it to be a goal for everybody here at the end of the semester to have something that they really feel they're confident with, they really, really love. Don't forget this. I won't lie to you. I want to change my logo every single day of the week, because as much as you love it and it's great, we want to evolve. I think creatives are very fickle to begin with, right? So like, I don't need to though. It's working for me just fine. And I guess that gives me the note that I wanted to end with on this. The logo's not going to make or break you. Don't put all the pressure that everything I just showed you is going to make you get a job or not. All it's going to do is enhance your chances, right? It ain't going to kill you. So don't go into it so heavily pressured that this is the end all, you know, thing about you getting a job down the road. So pick the thing that's great, be able to back it up, don't make it look like student work, and you're going to be successful. What do you think, Shelly? Anything else you want to add to that?
Yeah, I feel like as creatives, we're a little bit scared to brand ourselves, work on our portfolio. We're scared of our work. We want to perfect it constantly. And again, baby steps, start with sketches. Again, the logo that you create or the portfolio that you create won't be the same in a couple years. It's a constant evolution. And you just have to get past these first steps of creating that, whether it be the logo, whether it be the portfolio. Just get it done, put it on there, and then slowly you'll start adapting it as well. You'll start, you know, making it better. You'll start growing as a professional, and you're gonna change it. So it's not gonna be what it is now later on.
Yep. Yeah. Maybe one day we'll show you guys our first logos that we ever did.
Yeah, I think I had a PDF as a portfolio. Terrible.
Yeah. Oh, mine was not. Yeah, it was horrible. So like I think that's the whole point. Trying to get you guys to start off just a bit more focused than the typical student would do is really the goal, because it's ever evolving. It will always change. You know, it should change down the road. But look at, but then be inspired by the brands that have never ever changed. You know, when you look at the most successful logos in history of like graphic design, they did it because it represents everything who they are. It wasn't a trend. It wasn't of the moment. It wasn't like based off of some incredible vibe that you saw off Instagram. It's timeless. And I think when you really think of it that way, it helps you kind of narrow it down to something really strong. And chances are that will have a lot more longevity down the road. You know, like it's interesting to see how some of these brands, Target is an example, like that logo will never change. They'll probably change their font, the type or whatever, but that logo says it all, and no one else can do a Target logo because now they own it. They're obviously that big. But you want to think in that same realm, right? Like have something that is so authentically you. Who else could have it? You see what I mean? Cool. Any other questions? Good. Good. All right, cool. So I'll make sure to put that PDF in there so you guys can have that, so you don't have to worry about any of the notes and stuff on there. Are you guys gonna start putting together some questionnaire and some kind of brief on this?
Yes, definitely.
Yep.
Good.
Yes.
Good. And use this for any small side job that you do as well, right? Because I think we talked about it when we were in my other class a couple weeks ago in my seminar class. If you get the opportunity to do a design for a small company, a friend, a family member, whatever, you getting to add all this background, this brief, this building, the questions, the stuff. That's how you go from charging a family member, $50 or $100 for a logo to like $400 or $500, because you're showing how much more work is involved. Your job is not to just come up with something and throw it on the wall and hope it sticks. Your job is to be focused, spearhead down, and find what that thing is that they need it to be and nail it and give them something they can really use. That's how you can charge more. You see what I mean? So like use this method, even if you're just doing something for a local friend, a business or something that becomes a little side job. That's the best way to do it. I mean, we're all learning too. Everybody goes through different thresholds when it comes to how much you charge and whatever. If you show more background and you show more development and more strategy, then you're much more value. So ka-ching, price goes up as well. Okay.
And client gets to see your process, so they know that you understand the process.
Yeah.
rather than just a finished product.
Yeah. I'm currently we're in the onboarding segment of a new client, and I gave them the questionnaire prior to signing the contract because I felt it was a way of showing them the advantage of working with me. And they wrote me back and they were like, we had the most fun filling out your questionnaire than we had in years, because it was all the right questions and the stuff we did not know how to put down, but we know we needed to. So a lot of times people love going through this process. They've never been challenged before to really ask, why are you in business? Why do you matter? What would your brand talk like if it was a person? Who would it be if it was a person, right? She's like, oh, we couldn't choose an archetype. And blah, blah, blah. They were like loving it. So again, you guys become the people who hold their hand, take them through this process. And what I'm finding too is a lot of alumni are finding jobs, and there's even the person above them is really not qualified to be an art director, and they're coming in with this strategy, and people are taking notice. They're like, whoa, you're putting meaning behind what you're doing. And I love that idea, because it's like, I hate to hear that, but that's the truth, guys. People are going to be interviewing you that are not qualified to be interviewing you. I hate that. That sucks. But guess what? You have an advantage now, because if you do get hired, you could take that person's job down the road, right? Chances are they won't hire you because they're going to be threatened by you, but you don't want to work in a place like that. Okay, so keep that in mind when that world comes. That's going to be we should have a Saga alumni follow-up. Only
It's
Saga.
probably gonna be a long night.
Yeah, only Saga members that have been out for 2 years plus. Like, oh my
Pros
god.
and cons.
Yeah, because it's very hit or miss right now. I still keep a track of. I look at LinkedIn every day because I'm just curious to see what kind of job offerings are being out there for you guys. And it seems like the amount of the quantity has gone up extremely much in the last 2 or 3 months. It's just insane.
Yeah.
Everyone's hiring,
Mhm.
and it will say like remote, like they know that's like what everyone's looking for. But entry-level jobs should not have 7 years of experience. That's a huge problem. So, I always tell anybody who's out there, like, go ahead and apply. You have nothing to lose. Maybe they're just putting it out there as a deterrent because, they're going to get 900 people to apply for that job.
And there's also recruiters lack the knowledge of what designers go through. So there's also that's being talked about now. It's like there's a recruiter creating a position for a designer, but he has no background in what a designer does or how much knowledge he needs to know. So don't be afraid of the 5 year, 7 year, just go for it.
Yeah, it's very true. Even if you fall short, it's like worth the shot. But there's other ways you make sure you're shining in other ways, which we'll get to as well when we get to other things like resumes and stuff. That's gonna be a fun few weeks when we talk about that. Hopefully you're better suited to talk about resumes than I am.
I feel like I might be able to do that one.
Good. All right, cool.
Go,
Which is good.
we'll bring in some, you know, again, that's when I want to bring in more HR and recruiters, because they know exactly what's changed over the last 2 weeks. The trends are so fast with that stuff, it's crazy. So we'll find some of those folks as well, so we could tap into that as well. All right, cool. So any other questions, any other like situations that we can help you guys out with? Maybe other projects you're working on in classes or anything like that? Everybody doing well with everything else?
I just had one. Now that you guys bring up the thing with like experience and like how they ask for so much, like I feel like I've been very hesitant to apply to like internships or something, because I feel like sometimes they're asking for so much.
Yeah.
They want video editing, photography, and on top of that, design. And I'm just like, am I supposed to know all of this? Like, it just like that's why I've been very hesitant to like apply to stuff. So I'm like, how would like I don't know what advice you guys could give on something like that.
What do you think?
Go for it. Go for it.
What do you have to lose?
The worst thing that can happen is that they won't reach out to you, or they'll say no. But again, at least it's a learning experience. At least you tried, at least you went through the process of applying. So, you know, next time, you know, is there something I could have added? What could I have done? But yeah, I feel like a lot of jobs are doing that now. They want you to be a unicorn. They want you to know it all, but it's unrealistic. And again, it's people that might not have a background of how to actually build a job description for a designer.
Yeah, very true.
Yeah, I think it's also important to be, if you're not a unicorn, to just be good at what you're doing, because that can be enough. You know, if you're a really good graphic designer and everyone wants you, then you're not going to need to be a photographer, you know? You could just hire somebody else for that.
Yeah. And don't think too, just because you see a very polished thing and it's from a reputable name, don't think they have all their shit together. A place like that, they might be in turmoil. They might be like, holy crap, we just got to, you know, this was a brief that was put together for a job 2 years ago. I don't have time to write anything. I'm going to just put it out there on LinkedIn or some recruiting firm. So don't think they have it all together as well either. So chances are, let's say you fit 80% of what was on their qualification, you know, you might get a call back. Your chances might be good. Yeah, thanks for saying that, Shali. I was just going to say that as well. Next week is all Adobe Max, guys. So like, it's totally free. Incredible sessions, like so many good people to take a listen to and to start your morning with it as well. There's like a lot of good stuff for sure. Is everybody signed up?
So it's just like
it's all virtual.
We say like but I would
like
say
a
like
convention.
Oh, I see.
So
like they just lecture everything, like well, not everything, but well, I don't know. I haven't looked. I signed up. I haven't looked at it very detailed.
Don't forget, it's only the second year that it's virtual. It's always been an in-person thing. It's been a 3-day event. You guys you're missing out so much and not going to the real deal.
They are.
It is. 2 years ago when we went, we had about 32 students, about 4 of us faculty. There's so many. It's in LA. It's been for the last 3 or 4 years. It's just the most incredible. And hopefully next year we'll be back with it. And you know, I think your student thing can still work. It's like $299 for a student. If you're not a student, it's about $2,000. It's a very expensive thing. So it's completely free because it's online. They're doing their best to make it as best as possible. Basically starts with open keynotes every morning that everyone can go to, open to, you know, you just log on and it's there. But then there's sessions. So throughout the day, any given hour and a half block, there's probably 30 or 40 sessions happening specific to anything that you're looking for. You can go to an Illustrator one. You can go to a Adobe Dimension one. You can go to a how to be more creative with type, you know, like look at their sessions and see all the different things. And you can just click around through the 3 days and find the ones that are really up to you and what you guys want to do. Really interesting. And there's great people doing all of the sessions as well. So it's really something else. Go to Adobe Max. You can just search for it and do a quick registration. And that way you can get like a calendar and find the sessions you want. Tomorrow, if you guys are around at 2:30 our time, we're doing a kind of like a preview to Adobe Max on the Adobe Behance channel. So we're doing like a live thing. We're going to run down how to register, how to find the sessions, all that kind of stuff. I just put the link there. It's behance.net/live, and we'll be there at 2:30. And then we're doing a whole pre-max thing every morning, and then a recap every night on the same channel. So there's a lot of really good stuff happening next week as well. Should be fun. I just wish it was real and you guys were getting to go and see. It was the coolest thing because like students would come back and be like, "Oh my God, I just met blah blah blah," and like my favorite artist and whatever. And like it's such an exciting time, and you know, hopefully we'll all be able to go back next year. And even if you guys have graduated, I think your CSUN email address will still be valid, and you can still get in at the student rate, which will be like $299.
Ooh.
Definitely.
Yeah, I remember everyone was like going crazy over it when I was in Saga like 2 years ago. And everyone brought back like really cool stickers and cool stories.
Oh, the swag bag was like insane. Yeah.
I still have it. I went before COVID, so 2 years ago for the first time ever. So luckily I went in person and got to experience it before this happened.
You should.
I know everyone loved it.
4 years ago, guys, it was in Vegas.
Whoa! Oh, that's right. They change it every year.
Yeah, and the year before, the best one ever I went to was San Diego. It was by far the best one. And then they did Vegas, and then they did LA for 2 or 3 years in a row.
Yeah.
The cool thing about it is they still, if it comes back next year, it will be LA because they've already paid for it. It was going to be at LA again last year. So chances are it'll be back there for 2022. So we'll definitely make sure we get a good group there as well. But take advantage of next week. You never know what you're going to find. They're making great ways to like network and kind of be in the same room with people with certain things. So it's still well worth it, even though they're trying their best to make it just, you know, an online event. That's really tough because I don't know how you consolidate. It's 3 days. The last year, 2 years ago, it was 18,000 creatives at the same conference for 3 days. So do the math. It was amazing.
We're gonna break the internet.
It was great. It was really good. All right. Any other?
I would recommend mixing up your sessions with, of course, you know, sessions based off of the products that you use, like Illustrator, Adobe, like all of those, but also mix it up with speakers that talk about their experiences. I think those are probably the ones that I've enjoyed the most.
Yeah.
Just learning about what other people have gone through who've been part of the industry.
Yeah. And also picks people that are in different fields, you know, like you were saying, like you got to kind of give yourself a little bit more variety when it comes to who's like inspiring you and doing all that kind of stuff, you know. It'll come from the folks that you didn't even know like could do that, you know, which is really cool. There's the email address, the website address. You go there, top right is a little register sign in. If you're in Adobe, you know, y'all already have your account there, so just sign in real quick, and then you can start building your session plan for that. Because I don't think there's a cap on it too, because it's virtual. Many times, if you didn't sign up for a few people, you would find that like that room was full because it was at capacity when it was a real event.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And you can see if you want to know, you want to get more of a vibe of what happened last year, there's sessions from last year available too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's no end in sight. Cool. But then we get to experience DesignerCon as well. So like hopefully we're going to get the best of both worlds here with these two. So it should be fun. All right. I think that's it. We can jam. Anything else?
I think Jaleesa wanted to share some Thanksgiving ideas with officers.
Oh, go for it.
And thank you for presenting that. That was pretty informational. Thank you. And thank you, Shali.
Thank you too for giving us that advice.
You got it.
And thank you for the team for showing up every week. I know it's been tough with school and everything, so we appreciate you.
Cool.
Okay, thank you everyone. Thanks for joining.
All right, y'all. We'll
Good
see you next week. Some of you I'll see in the morning. All right, guys.
Yep.
Bye.
All right, y'all.
Bye. Thank you.
Bye bye.